So I am in my computer 24/7, and it's been like this for over a decade now. And honestly, I've never really learned the proper way to type, and I kind of regret not having done that long time ago, because it would have saved me so much time writing all these papers and emails, and definitely arguing with toxic people on the internet. So for context, the average typing speed is 45 words per minute. I don't think it's hard to get there if you're not there yet. And I don't think it's hard to get to 60, 70 words per minute either. I don't think getting to 100 necessarily is that easy though. At least to me, I think it took me about a week to get to 50 words per minute, and then probably about 3 weeks or so to hit 70 words per minute. I was typing maybe 10-15 minutes every day, so I wasn't really practicing much. But anyhow, if you do however want to go past 100, I think you really need to have this skill integrated into your muscle memory. And once you have that, then things will go much easier. You're gonna go into this kind of a flow state where you just type without even thinking. And once you're there, your speed just shouldn't even matter at that point. You're just gonna be typing fairly easily. But honestly, I've been so much more efficient and productive, and it's not just because I type faster, but it's also because I don't make as many mistakes. And one thing that I think is overlooked, because when people say, well, I wanna type fast. Well, yes, obviously you will type faster, but the biggest takeout, at least to me, okay, is, for example, when I used to take notes, I would literally just have to, look at the keyboard, look at the notes. It was just so time consuming. I would get lost. It was just not a good method. But now you can actually type, okay, and look at the notes, so you can just kind of do that simultaneously. And I'll guarantee you it's a life-changing skill, if you get to learn it, right? So that being said, I thought I would share the steps and the tips that have helped me along the way. So the very first thing we're going to do is fix our posture. We're gonna have our back straight, feet touching the floor, and elbows straight. When we're typing, the very first thing we want to do is place our hands in the right position. So we will start looking for the little bumps that are on the letters F and J, which is where we're gonna have our index fingers. And that should set us up for our resting position for both hands. Before I learned how to type, I think I was just using my index fingers, so maybe 2, maybe 3 fingers at most. I mean, that's just stupid. Like, you don't want to do that. It's like trying to walk with one leg when you can use both of them.
All right, Maya, let's go for a walk.
But anyhow, obviously we want to be using all 10 of our fingers, and the best way to get familiar with how we can use them is through the websites that I'm going to be showing you here in a minute. Also, it is important to not get caught up on how fast your speed is, and instead focus on the accuracy. So when it comes down to practice, I would suggest using the right technique every single time that you're typing something, whether that's a blog post, an article, you're texting your friends, whatever. Just make sure you use the right technique. Now, keep in mind that at first it's gonna be hard. At least to me, it was pretty hard. I was struggling many times with my pinky fingers. I just couldn't feel them. I'm gonna be honest with you, I just couldn't even feel them. It was just so awkward, but eventually, I kind of got used to it. It's still kind of awkward at some points, but just make sure you stick to practice, do what the websites tell you, and then you're gonna see a huge improvement. But obviously, before we get there, we have to practice with the right technique over a long period of time. Now, it might take you a month, it might take you 3 months, it might take you longer. That's gonna be up to, how well you get accustomed to the new technique, or how much you practice. I mean, it could be both. I have mainly used 2 different websites to practice, and what I'm going to do is just kind of show you guys a couple of clips on how they work. So the website that I have personally used the most, it's called kvr.com, and as you can see on the screen, it's gonna start testing you with 3 or 4 different letters, and the computer itself is gonna tell you when you're good enough you can move on to the next letters. Apart from the boring sentences that don't make any sense whatsoever, this website will also give you an option to erase others. Another great website that I have also used, it's called 10fastfingers.com, and why did I do that? But the reason I like this website is because unlike kvyard.com, you actually have to go back and fix your mistake. And I think that's very important because when you're typing, obviously you want to type with the correct technique, but even then you're going to be making mistakes. It's just going to happen. So it's going to force you to go back and fix the mistakes, and by doing so you're going to be practicing how to do it efficiently. But that being said, I'm going to be showing you guys here a couple of clips on how it works, and yeah. Let's start over. Also, if you speak and write in more than one language, you might want to download a secondary language layout. You don't have to do that, but I've done that because when I try to type in Spanish and I have to use all of these letters, it's kind of hard to figure out where they will be in a US layout, right? So if you want to do that, we're gonna go right here. We're gonna type language, and then right here you're gonna add a language. Say you want to download I don't know, Italian. Gonna go right here, next. I personally don't need any of that. Go right here, install. It's gonna take a little bit. Then you go right here and you should have the layout ready to use. So the next thing we're going to do is go over the shortcuts. And even though it's not necessarily going to help you type faster, you're gonna be much more efficient because you're gonna be using the mouse much less, right? So as you can see in the screen, there are two different sections here. The very first one, you're gonna be using them when you're typing, right? When you make a mistake and you wanna go back, or you just want to just kind of, jump between words, change stuff up, that sort of thing. So for the very first one, we've got Control plus backspace or delete, depending on what you want to do. And if you're on my computer, it's going to be Option instead, okay? So let's just give that a try. I'm gonna type something here. Let's see. All right, so I made a mistake right there. And I could do two things here, right? I can do backspace 10,000 times, okay? Or I can just pretty much hit Control backspace and it's gonna delete everything. Now, if I'm right here, right? If the cursor is right there, I can do the same thing with Control delete, okay? That's just, it might work in some other occasions. Now say I want to change great because I decided to change the word to beautiful, right? Whatever. And my cursor is here. So instead of doing all of this, or even getting my mouse and then, putting the cursor right here, or just selecting it, you could do that, I'm not stopping you, but I would rather just not move my hands off the keyboard and then Control and then the left arrow key. I go right here, boom, it's gone. Now, that's just something that you're gonna have to decide. I personally like doing that because the less I use the mouse, the more efficient I am most of the time. So there is that for the very first two shortcuts. Okay. All right. So for the very next section, we've got these ones right here. I'm just gonna go through them real quick because they're pretty common. So Control A, select everything. Okay. If I'm selecting a word right here and I want to copy it, Control C. Okay. If I then want to paste it, okay, I can just put the cursor right here and it's gonna be Control V. Say I want to instead cut it, okay, Control X. I want to Control Z, reverse my action, right? So it pretty much goes back to how it was before. Control Find. Now, I don't really use that a lot, but say you're browsing on the internet and you want to look for a specific sentence or a specific word, whatever, then you can just do Control Find, and then you can just type the word that you're looking for, and it's gonna take you right there. And then Control Save. I do this a lot because if you're typing something or you're editing and you don't want your progress to be lost because the program crashes, I just go Control Save, and it's just going to save the whole, the whole project. Now, quick tip before I finish the video is that I wanted to give you guys a little insight on how good mechanical keywords can be. They are more pricey, I get that, and you don't have to purchase it. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but the reason I'm saying this is because I used to be one of those that was using, God, I don't know, it was one of those plastic keywords. They were just so cheap and so basic, and it was doing a good job. I'm not saying it wasn't. I still have it in, in the garage somewhere, but point is, I thought that was the best thing ever because I never tried what was out there. And that's what I'm trying to get through you if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about here. But basically, in short, it's just a better quality, a better keyword in every aspect, in everything it offers, and starting just from the sound. I mean, this is just so satisfying. Just listen to this. It's so good. It's so good. I mean, if you're a nerd like me, you will appreciate that. But anyhow, that being said, the quality is better, not only because of the keys, it just offers a lot of more things. Like, for example, I can pause a song, or I can even stop a YouTube video, and I can also tweak with the volume. And it has other set of extra keys that I think, they do enhance your experience. Remember how I said you want to spend less time with the mouse and more time with the keyboard? Those things do eventually add up as well. But other than that, most of these keyboards have LED lights integrated in them, and I understand that, yes, it can be a little fancy. I mean, I personally like it because you're able to customize them. You're able to add different colors, different patterns on how they look, and it's pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. But I actually think there's one thing that is overlooked, and it's the fact that you can actually type in the dark. If you have a partner, you're lucky enough to have one, or unlucky, depending how you look at it. But anyhow, if you have a partner or you have a roommate and you're actually working, late hours, you don't need to have a source of light. So I think that's pretty helpful if you don't want to disturb, the other person that is with you. But that being said, I didn't really want to give you guys a whole review. I just kind of wanted to, give you guys a couple of tips. So, if that's something that you might be interested in, I'm gonna leave a link in the description. So yeah, that being said, without further ado, I'll see you in the next video.